Hello, and welcome to the About Healing podcast, a show created for those on or awakening into their spiritual journeys, and who are ready, wanting, and learning how to heal themselves. I am your host, About Healing medium and certified spiritual healer, Cherie Buckman. It is my purpose to guide others to the path of self-healing and to inspire those on their spiritual journeys in finding their truths. Join me as I share my experience and unfiltered perspective in healing, as well as the incredible wisdom of the loving energy that guides us. Let's begin. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of About Healing podcast. I feel like we've been on an interesting journey thus far. Throughout this season, we have discussed so many important topics that I know that even to binge these episodes would be a lot to kind of take in. And honestly, after each episode, I really feel taking time to sit with it and let it sink in and let your mind start unfolding and absorbing it and then shifting perspectives or whatever it is that you yourself naturally needs to do with it. Because if we begin to take this on all at once and do it all at the same time, that in itself would be very overwhelming and very stressful. So again, as that reminder is taking the time and trusting your gut, that intuition of yours, and do this in the way that feels right for you and in the right timing. So if you find that you are listening to the season and it becomes a lot, is break it down piece by piece and then come back to the episode that you're drawn to for the next line and topic to work on at a later point when you are ready, whether it is months from now or even years from now. There is no rush in this process. Although we are doing this weekly and bringing up these topics, honestly, I find that if you were to do all of this work on a weekly basis with all of these topics, I think I would have fallen apart trying to do it. So just know that doing the work of an awakening and taking back your authentic power, this is something that should take even years to do. However, understanding these processes and being aware of the steps, you will be able to identify which phase you're in at that time, which hopefully will help you along your way. So to move on into today's topic, I want to bring you into understanding that reclaiming your power has two sides. We have weighed very heavily so far on the side that drives you to take your power back from others, from those you've allowed to take it throughout your entire life. But there is another side that is just as equally important that we absolutely have to look at today. And it is where you put blame and judgments on others for your own circumstances. I like to call this the dirty side of the coin, because it's the coin that we try to ignore because it means being responsible and accountable for our own actions in life. During an awakening, this is definitely something that will come up. It absolutely does, where we may have felt or feel while listening to this that I feel like I really do. I'm very responsible with how I treat other people or in my actions. I take accountability when I'm in the wrong. But until you really look at it and really dissect your life, sometimes you'll find that maybe some of those old habits have not left us, that there are still times where we ignore this side of that coin, that dirty side. The truth is, your story can be changed at any moment. At any moment when you decide you are ready to make the hard decisions and take accountability in your own thoughts, attitudes, beliefs, and actions. Because that's the thing. It's more than just your actions. And so before we really get into it and I start breaking that apart for you, I wanted to share with you the difference between accountability and responsibility, because there is a difference. And even I had to look that up. I'm like, these feel like two very, very important words, but they do feel separate. So accountability is owned by only one person, and it's after a situation has occurred. So it's being accountable for something that has already happened in the past, something that has already been done. While responsibility is actually an ongoing process, and it can even be shared by many, definition-wise, just putting it out there. So as you start your journey to healing, it is extremely important to begin to take responsibility. And we're going to begin with your actions for all the good and the bad. We all have many aspects about ourselves that we place pride in. Okay? This could be whether it's our caring nature or our hardworking ethics, being loving and forgiving, strong and brave, fun and fun-loving, so on and so forth. However, and we all have these. We all have a combination or a mixture or all of these beautiful aspects. And we love to talk about these ones, and we love it when people describe us with having these beautiful, very positive, what we claim good aspects of ourselves. But we all have other aspects, that dirty side of the coin ones, right? And what we have also called our shadow selves. It will be another episode in the future, but we'll get there. These other aspects we like to keep hidden away because it brings shame and vulnerability. And some of these aspects that we like to keep hidden, some of the examples are selfishness or power-seeking, defensiveness, aggression, being hyper-critical, lazy, stubborn, sensitive, etc., etc. There's so many. And some people may feel shame on certain aspects and maybe not while others do. It's different for everybody. Look, we are all human. These are all natural parts of ourselves. This is part of the ego. We all have these shadow sides. We all have these quote unquote negative aspects of ourselves that we like to keep hidden in a way, and we don't want people to see that or to describe us that way or would even describe us that way. But they're all a part of ourselves. And those negative aspects actually create the balance within ourselves. And it could actually help us when we stop fighting and hiding our own energy. There was a time, absolutely, when I would not be vocal or admit to my, quote unquote, negative aspects. But I am so in a place now, because I'm human. We all do that. That's the thing. We can't hide these pieces because we're all that way. I absolutely can be extremely lazy. See, in my mind, it's this extreme laziness, and I don't like that part or to say that out loud because I'm usually a very busy person, and I think that it was part of my childhood where if you were being lazy, you were not productive, and that was a bad thing. No, that's balance. You need that laziness. It's also called self-care. So no matter which part is dominant for you, you need the other side to bring that balance, because on the other side of that for me, I get into these really crazy overproductive phases where I'm go, 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 go. And I think that everything has to be done by this certain timeline, or I have to get I have this massive list that needs to be done. When I really take time out and look at it, and usually it's because my husband's like, really? Do you really need to get that stuff done? And it makes me stop for a minute because I just get in that mode and I'm just doing it. I got to cross things off my list because I'm a list crosser. I got to cross them. And I realize what it's doing. I'm like, okay, these are really, truly not that important. I mean, some of them may be, but some of them really not. And it's not worth the time or the energy or the stress that it's creating. Because I will get so far up there that it even causes myself to get sick. Totally. It causes myself to get sick, where I drain myself so much that, it does. Absolutely. I absolutely can also be selfish. Oh, yeah. I just had this conversation with Copper this morning. I told her that I see her in the future of coming to live by me. And she looked at me and I was like, okay, well, that's a selfish thing. That's really a hope and a dream. It's being selfish. No, but that's a silly selfish. But I absolutely have been and can be selfish. Condescending. Yep. Can be that too. Passive aggressive is a big one, especially in my past. I have definitely been passive aggressive. People have called me that. I was like, oh my God, do you think I'm passive aggressive? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally do these things. And I can't sit there and say, no, I'm not. Absolutely, yes, I am. And have been. And that's okay. And honestly, until I saw them for what they were, as actual parts of myself, I tried to hide it. And it did bring shame and all those other things and feelings as a part of it. But there's something else I learned about this, is that these more negative aspects, they came into play in my life, or I would feel them and start using them. They would boil to the surface when I was not meeting one of my own needs. And when I was too afraid to directly ask for it or to do it for myself. And so it activated one of these less appealing aspects, forcing my attention. Isn't that interesting? That we try to ignore it and put it away, which is a lot what we've been taught to do throughout life, is like, don't ruffle feathers, don't create issues. So we push all those pieces down into the ground, but they're there for a reason. I mean, really look at it. Again, you're getting angry over something. So you have this aggressive side that's out for this phase of time. Well, again, there's something that you're not releasing. You're feeling loss of control over something, and you need to ask yourself what that is. And so we do have to take that responsibility in those less appealing aspects of ourselves and look at, why are we acting this way? Why is it making us feel this way? And until we can do that, we keep ourselves out of balance. I mean, I even used to think that my extreme sensitivity was a bad thing, because people are like, oh, you're too sensitive. Why do you cry all the time? Like, you can't talk to her about these things, or she can't even watch a Disney movie. No, I cannot watch a Disney movie without crying. And it's the truth. Like, she just cries a lot, or you're going to hurt her feelings. So I did. I started to think it was maybe a negative thing. Until I really started understanding and learning, and again, removing those false beliefs and everything else, I started to understand that this was a positive thing. This is what allows me to connect with others, these other amazing souls along this plane. While I brought up, again, those false beliefs, but I also had to take responsibility that, yeah, I am sensitive. I can't hide that part. That is a part of me, but it doesn't have to be the negative part. So I took actually responsibility in it. And now I can also understand, and it allows me to create boundaries and all these other things. Episodes coming soon on that. So this is what brings me to the next part, which is about taking that responsibility and accountability too, and your role in all the situations in your life. So think about it for a minute. Think about the struggles that are present in your life about anything. I'm talking about relationships, money, health, so on and so forth. Now we need to take those situations and take a deeper look while asking the questions of why. So here's a few examples of those questions, is asking yourself, like if you're having relationship issues, not just romantic ones, but I mean any relationship in your life. Is the relationship struggling due to lack of communication on your part, or maybe another part where you've been too aggressive, maybe because you're not communicating your needs? Are you being treated less than you deserve because you're allowing it to happen? Yeah, you have to think about that too. Someone treating you a certain way, but are you allowing it and not setting those boundaries and stopping them from doing that? How much of yourself are you giving one person or situation that does not give back? Relationships should be balanced. And if you're not receiving what you need, then it's an imbalance. And it's a choice at that point. You need to be responsible for that. Are you struggling with money because you're waiting for something to happen rather than making something happen? And I feel like I had to give a long pause here for a moment, because I feel like we have to let that one sink in too. Do you feel lonely because you're afraid of putting yourself out there and getting hurt? So these are just some of the examples of the things that we should be asking ourselves in some of these situations. Because in all situations, in all circumstances, especially the negative ones, we are never 100% without fault or without responsibility in it. Because either we allowed it, or we allowed the situation to happen in the first place, or we're looking at it from different perspectives. And we need to adjust it, and we need to be accountable for our parts in it. So yeah, we need to take a moment and see these situations from different perspectives. So how did or does your actions affect other people involved? Maybe because you are not communicating in an effective way and you're getting angry and aggressive now in this situation. How is that affecting other people? Think about it. Because if that is happening, then people around you are getting defensive, and it's just going to fuel the fire. and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you need to look at it and decide, where can I take responsibility? Because in each place, you absolutely can take responsibility for something. I'm not saying the whole thing, but there's a piece in there. If it's something that got so big, you were a part of that too, especially when we're talking about in a situation with another person, because it takes two to get to that point. That means someone there is not willing to give up control. We'll get into that too in just a second. But when you can decide and you can start taking responsibility for your stuff or your piece, this is such a powerful tool, incredibly powerful tool. So not only do we need to think about the actions that we make or have made, where we needed to be accountable for or take that responsibility, is we need to actually go back to even our thoughts. Remember, we are people, we are souls, and we manifest through thought. And your thought is just as important, if not more important, than your actions, because that's where it starts. Your frame of mind creates the situations, the people, and the circumstances around you. So for example, like if you're one who feels unworthy of love, you're going to draw to yourself difficult or even abusive relationships because you don't feel you deserve more or better. And also remember here that you're also in a relationship or situation you choose, because that is a choice. No one said the choices are easy, but it still is a choice. And one of the bigger ones that we really need to look at for ourselves is our judgments, our judgments of others. Our own individual judgments, because it's easy to look at others when we have these fears of other people judging us. Remember, we have to sever and we have to cut that cord and start with our own selves, because we can't judge a judger. That's still judging. You're still continuing that cycle, because when you judge others, you are creating negative walls and energy between you and the other person or people, because judgments are actually very low vibrating. It takes control away from yourself, because judgments are a mirror to your own fears and biases. And I know we've talked about this before, because we've talked about other people judging and how to remove that fear. You have to look within. This is about, again, taking that responsibility, and you've got to be accountable for your own. If you want other people to be, you have to do the work yourself. So when you're making those judgments, it's starting to be aware, and then you need to follow that judgment, your own judgment, follow it. Go in and start asking yourself those questions and follow the judgment to the thought source and find out why. Why are you creating that judgment? Why are you concerned about what other people wear, do, eat, say? Because it's not yours. Why do you get upset over them? And so while judgments are important, there's also another part that is just as important as judgments when we have to look at our self-responsibility, and that's our expectations of others. There is a big difference between helping someone reach their potential and having high expectations, because expectations are a form of control. It's about putting pressure on others to please you, because you need them to fit into that little box or to this way of being or doing or thinking to make you feel better, not about them. Expectations are not about the other person and what their happiness is or what their goals are. It's just about what you want them to be. So for an example, I always think of this as the big example of the parent and the child relationship, because we've heard those stories where a parent may want their child to follow in their footsteps. Maybe it's something that has been happening and that's just what they did as a family. Let's say, dad's a police officer and grandpa was, and it's the big family thing. So the expectation onto the child now is you're going to be a police officer because that is what our family does. This is something they've created as an identity for the family. And so whether the child feels that pressure, if they do feel the pressure, there becomes resentment. And there's a lot of other factors into it. But some may not even question and just go with it without ever considering what they want and what their goals are. Or they've put their own goals and their own needs and their own wants on the back burner. But then that in itself creates so much stress and anxiety and not living your own life when you're doing what is expected. So we need to be aware of the expectations that we have for others in our life, and including ourselves. What expectations are we holding for ourselves? Not the potential ones, but the expectations, like we have to do this by this time of date. I had that once. I did that to myself, creating a lot of stress and fear about turning 30. So in my 20s, I had this list. It's my list of accomplishments, the things I needed to get done or had to, do before then. I wanted to have my master's. I wanted to get married and start having children and so on and so forth. It was a long list. And so I had this anxiety about turning 30 because I wanted to finish all these things. And the truth was, these are ridiculous expectations. These are my own. And the fact is that I was extremely happy. And I actually had finished just about everything on that list. I just didn't do my master's. And so I still was like, in my head, I was like, oh, but I didn't get that done. I'm a list crosser. I wanted to cross it out. But it wasn't important. And I realized that I was putting ridiculous expectations on myself and creating stress over something that is just it's not supernatural. It's just very natural. Let me rephrase that because it has a different meaning. It was very natural for us, again, to age. It happened. But I had to look back and I had to reform all this, that why did I have that expectation for myself? Why was it important? And you need to ask yourself that. When you have these expectations for somebody else or yourself, ask yourself, why is it important? Why? Keep tracing it back until you find the original form. Are you trying to control something? Because that's usually what it's about. We need to release the control and surrender to the universe. Surrender. When I say surrender to the universe, it's about allowing things to happen as it needs to. Once you can let go of the control, so many beautiful things can enter that you never imagined were possible. This has happened to me when I have started releasing control of my own life, like my expectation of having to have my master's by a certain time. Because what has happened since then and what I've allowed to unfold in experiences for myself has brought me to where I am today. It has given me the lessons I needed and the healing and the growth and the experiences to sit right here and talk about even this topic, because you can't heal or help others until you can do this for yourself. We do not have any control over others nor their choices. As simple as that sounds, until you fully understand this and accept that fact, you will feel like you are constantly fighting others and draining your energy by doing so. By letting go of that control and the need to hide our less appealing aspects, that dirty side of the coin, by letting it go, you disconnect the defensive energy that others react to. And therefore, you're alleviating the stress and anxiety that connects to others in your life. That's a weight just coming off of you just all at once. And you may feel like you may not have this in your life, and that's fantastic if you don't. You've learned this then. You've learned to take that responsibility and accountability for parts of yourself, and that's wonderful. But until you do the work and truly look back at every situation, you're going to find there's pieces in there that you do hold on to and that we need to look back and take that responsibility. Remember, everybody needs to do, I don't want to say everybody needs to. We all should. We all need to. I don't want to tell anybody what they need. But this in itself, if we can all start taking responsibility for our own thoughts and actions, beliefs, all of it, we can start to begin to respect everybody else, others, and we take that need of control away. And we don't have to feel that shame or anything else that associates with it. So as I wrap up this episode, I want to share with you that the strongest piece of knowledge to self-healing is understanding that you are the powerful creator of your life. No one else controls you unless you let them. You are always in control when you make the conscious choice to reclaim your life by taking responsibility for it. Once you begin taking responsibility and are accountable for your choices, you will feel so much more peace and a sense of presence because you no longer hide in shame or wear a mask or pretend to be someone you're not. That releases a tremendous amount of energy that can now be put towards creating what you actually want. Our walls of defenses are huge. We put those there, again, developed by the false beliefs of life. And so now we need to start looking at what we've created for ourselves. And it can change at any moment, and you do not need to feel shame in this at all, because we are all there. We all do it. Because we're all human, every single one of us with an ego. It's just being more aware of it. And when you become more aware of it, your dirty side doesn't show as often. But when it does, it's not a big deal anymore, and you can own it. It's like, yeah, sorry. I let my selfishness show a little too much. But hey, it is what it is. You're allowed to be. And you're allowed to ask for what you want, because you never know, can never get what you want unless you ask for it. Not everybody can read minds. I can't read your mind either. I can feel emotion, but I'm not reading your minds. So be you, and it's okay to be you, even your shadow self you. It's a balance. We are both light and dark, and light could not exist without the dark. Remember that. It's not about getting rid of the dark. It's just becoming friends with it and knowing it's a part of you too, but allowing the light to shine more often than the darkness. And I'm in this boat too. I've done this and still continue to take responsibility and accountability. And I remind myself sometimes when I feel those big, again, quote unquote, negative aspects come up. There's just something there that I haven't filled a need for. And I'm a super apologizer and I don't care because again, I will take my responsibility and I hope that you can too. We can show others how it can be done. We can inspire by doing it ourselves. And so until next week, my beautiful souls, be kind to yourself. With so much love and gratitude, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. My hope today is that the message continues to guide you along your path to healing. To learn more about me and my purposeful work, visit my website at abouthealingmedium.com. You can also follow About Healing Medium on Facebook and Instagram, where you can find the episode's healing guidance, quotes, tips, insights, and chances to win free stuff. To ask a question or to share comments, email me at abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com or feel free to reach me on Facebook and Instagram at About Healing Medium. Until next time, be kind to yourself.